What's up, guys? My name is Jonathan Tenbrook, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and this is Attack on Titan, episode 2. Let's get it. Alright guys, like I said, I was watching Attack on Titan from beginning to end, and every single time I saw Jiu-Jitsu, I was going to do a breakdown and a reaction. In the first episode, we did the mount escape that Annie did, and now in the second episode, there's a lot of stuff that happens really quick in succession next to each other, so what we're going to do is we're going to break down each thing. So the first thing here is going to be this head and arm throw from Annie. Let's watch. Adjust. And she doesn't respect the tap. I love it. So this happens twice. So what I'm going to do is skip through really quickly. Here is the second iteration of it. Let's watch. Okay, so let's break these down individually first. So, from the first clip, starting off, we need to find out whoever the hell taught Annie how to fight, because she's obviously a fucking Giga Chad. She's fighting Eren in the forest, and she hits a beautiful mount escape. Could have been done a little better. Some things could have been changed a little bit, but fantastic mount escape. She's obviously trained Jiu-Jitsu. Now here we are fighting in combatives, and she takes a really high Muay Thai guard. So obviously, she's been trained in other disciplines also. We start this fight. We're going to slow it down now. So this starts. Eren's not really ready to fight. Annie comes in with that huge left hook. Eren panics. He closes his eyes. His arms come up. And as the arms come up, she level changes and she shoots in. Ba 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 ba. I'll change this to half speed. Okay, and now we're here in the position where she gets the head and arm position, the katagatame position, the arm triangle position, whatever you want to call it, the shoulder throw position, whatever your phrasing or terminology is. So she throws a hook and then she sets up the position. Like we saw in the other clip, Eren slips a straight punch and then he sets up the exact same position, this katagatame position. So the throw that ends up getting done here is an Osoto Garuma. So all the Osotos, there's 3 types. Osoto Gari, which is basically you trip the near side leg. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. Osoto Otoshi, which is the same thing, but you're kind of stomping your leg on the ground, like dropping your heel, straightening your leg. And Osoto Garuma, which is what gets done here, which is swinging on the far leg. So first, we'll talk real quickly about these setups. So the setup, there's 3 things that we'll talk about with it. 1, Annie, she throws a hook. Off their reaction, they bring their hands up. We slide in. We take our head and arm position, our katagatame position, and then we can do whichever variation of an Osoto Gari or Osoto Otoshi, Osoto Garuma. You can do whichever variation you want. Eren sets his up off of a straight, where the Armor Titan throws a straight, Eren slips, and then he jumps in and he takes the exact same position. All the times that I've hit this live, I don't box, I don't punch, I have a big nose, it bleeds a lot when I get punched in the face, not a fan. Jiu-Jitsu black belt, not a fighter. So what we do in grappling a lot of the times is we collar tie each other, so we're tied up, their hand is on my neck, my hand is on theirs, and we do some form of slipping by, whether I post my elbow, or my hand on their elbow, rather, or whether I post my elbow on their elbow, and then we throw by and we slide by our partner. What was that? So we throw by or slide by our partner. And we end up in a position where I'm kind of cupping the neck, and then I can transition to the katagatame position, and then we have our throws. So however you get to the grip, whether you're a striker and you set it up with a hook, or you slipping a straight punch as they march towards you and then you duck underneath, or you do it like grappling where you do like a slide by or a throw by and then you end up in your position. Now we're ready to throw. There's a cool thing you can do even by yourself if you want to do an Osoto, any of the Osoto variations, where as you're standing up straight, if you take your own head and you lean it really far over one foot, it makes it very difficult for you to pick your own foot up. So if I take my head and I lean it over my right shoulder, it's very difficult to pick my right leg up off the ground. And you can do the same thing to the left as I lean my head all the way over my foot and all the way over my knee to the left. It's very difficult to pick that leg up. So traditionally when you make an Osoto, whether you're in the gi or no gi, if I can lean my partner's head over their own foot, it makes it difficult for them to pick their foot up. And now we can swipe that leg out from underneath them, finishing an Osoto Gari. If I stomp and I can do an Otoshi, or if you want to do it like the video, you can swipe the far leg like an Osoto Guruma. So one of the benefits of this katagatame, this head and arm position, is that it's very easy. Once I connect my ear to their shoulder and I'm really tight with them, as I lean forward, it automatically leans my partner backwards and over the leg at the same time, and you can finish whatever variation. So far, this is fantastic. I love this. Both of them complete it in this, both Annie and Eren. This is great. The setups were great for both of them, and then again for grappling, you can set it up like that. All fantastic. Usually when I'm sparring, once I slide by people and I get to this position where I could make that grip, I prefer to just kind of grab onto their neck with my hand and circle towards the back and then start trying to chase the back and get for chokes, or maybe mat return them and get them down to the ground like that. It's easier, it's safer for my training partners, but overall, this is great. In the aftermath of this position, once you throw them down, there's a lot of options here. Annie decides to finish it. They even show her adjusting her hips here, which is phenomenal, because usually whether you did it off a throw or whether you just set it up from mount or whatever, you need to adjust a little bit. Whether you push on the shoulder with your hand and then you shimmy your arm deeper to get the grip, and then you usually use your knee and your hips and your chest and you're trying to sink your weight down. And even right here, they show this as she's kind of shuffling around, adjusting, getting her head really close to the outside of the shoulder here. That's all fantastic, right? Usually you can use the back of your head to drive their arm across their own throat, like so. Or what I do is I take my chin and I bring it across my partner's arm, kind of in front of their eye. This is just the variation that I prefer. They're both great, so this is all perfect. Now if we skip and rewatch what Eren did here, he gets to the position, he hits the big throw, exactly like Annie did. Big Osoto Guruma, the far leg, which is what makes it the Guruma. Boom, they land, hard landing, like I said. Difficult to do slowly to your training partners. And they're here. And then all of a sudden they flash, and in the next scene he's in mount. If we get to it. It's still in 0.5. Okay, now we're in mount and he has a wrist grip. So some things that could have been done that would have made this better. One, if you finish the choke like regular, you can just sink your chest, sink your hips down, squeeze, pulling your elbow down through your partner's shoulder, not trying to pull their head off the mat, but pulling your elbow down towards your own hip, using your back muscles to squeeze this. You can get an easy choke here as you drive with either the back of your head or using your chin, like I said I do for mine. Some other options, just so that we don't relieve a great position, that head and arm position, even if you don't get to the head and arm choke, there's some other things you can do from there to set it up. So I'm not the biggest fan of the fact that he let it go and then he pops into mount, and then some more crazy stuff happens after this that I'll go over in another video. But what I would like to do, or what I would like to see rather, is see him capitalize on that position. So a couple options. One, if you post your outside foot and your hand on the mat and drive into your partner using your knee as a wedge under their hips, you can forcibly take the back as they expose their back by you rolling them onto their shoulder. You can pull them across your hips and you have an easy back take from there. Another great option would be to step into mount, but don't release the head and arm position. And what you can do is you can slide up really high because you already have their arm pinned up here, all the way next to their ear with your head and arm position, or that katagatame position. And you can pull their head and their arm up off the mat. And once they're up off the mat high enough, it gives your leg a space to fire underneath their neck. And then you can pivot 90 degrees and either look for a triangle choke from mount or just a belly down arm bar. So honestly, there was some missed opportunity and some missed potential here. I don't like the fact that they just flashed into mount, but you know, I'm nitpicking at this point. This is still a fantastic sequence. Okay, let's rank these, and let's rank them separately because they are done a little bit differently and the outcomes are very different here. So, like I said in the last video, we ranked Annie's mount escape as a B. There was a lot of things she could have done, a couple unrealistic things, so it was kind of in the middle, but she still did like a great shrimp and some other great things, so we put it just in the middle. Again, this could change as I keep going down the list and we keep putting more in here. So for now, that one's at a B. I'm going to rank Annie's and Eren's separately. So first, we're going to go with Annie's, and honestly, I'm going to have to give this one an S. There's not a single thing that I could have done differently or changed if I was in her shoes. She did a great hook. She did a great fake for it. She ducked underneath off the reaction. She connected her hands. She did a huge Osotoguruma, which is a hard throw to hit. And then she adjusted her head and arm choke, her arm triangle, her katagatame. As she adjusted, she sank her hips. She squeezed. She didn't respect the tap, but I'm still going to give it an S. Nothing on this would I have done differently. It's great. For Eren's, though, Eren's, I'm going to have to give an A. So, only because of the last bit where there was a lot of missed opportunities, and they kind of flashed the scene a little bit just because of the way that they like animated it. He hit the big head and arm throw. He's already off to the side in the katagatame position, and then all of a sudden he teleports to mount with a wrist grip. It is what it is. Maybe they cut a scene out, but I would give it an A just because the aftermath, there's so much missed opportunity. He could have finished the choke like Annie did. He could have finished the choke by squeezing a rear naked choke style grip and walking his feet around the corner. He could have used the back of his head. He could use his chin like I do. He could have stepped in the mount, but kept the position, lifted the head up off the mat, threw his leg over the neck, and now you have a really cool arm bar or triangle. So there's a lot of missed stuff from that position, which is why I'd give it an A, but he still slipped a straight, which is different than Annie, which is already pretty cool because now he's kind of developed it for his own style, right? He slipped off the aggression, leaned in, level changed, got really close, connected the katagatame, and then again, he hit the exact same throw. So it's still really great sequence. I just wish he would have done something as the aftermath of that. All right, guys, this was episode 2. In the next episode, I'm going to be breaking down the rest of the fight with the Armored Titan that Eren has here because there's a lot more jiu-jitsu to come, and we'll keep ranking it and we'll keep breaking it down. And as always, till next time, let's get it.